Welcome to the Movement Flow workshop, where I'll teach you some of the most fun and rewarding back pain rehabilitation exercises. The word flow helps to describe the aim of moving fluently, free from stiffness, caution, apprehension and anxiety. The more you practice these flows, the smoother and more coordinated they will become for you. If you find sticking points, that is, parts of the movements which are painful or restricted, then rather than avoiding them, try to spend more time working on those difficult parts of the movement. Now I'm going to show you these flow routines, and with a voiceover I'm going to provide some explanation as to what I'm doing, what you should do, and a few tips to successfully complete the exercises. To complete the flows, I suggest you wear some flexible clothing. I'm just wearing a t-shirt and some flexible trousers, so don't feel that these exercises are just for fitness people and you need to wear fitness clothing. They really are very helpful exercises to do. As with everything we've done, if any of the exercises flare up or exacerbate your pain, then stop and get a professional assessment. However, if the exercises help you and your pain reduces, then keep doing them and keep benefiting from them as frequently as you would like to. After trying these flow routines, try and pick out the exercises which work best for you and create your own flow routines, adding in those flow movements which really help and throwing away those exercises which perhaps don't do anything for you or even exacerbate your lower back pain. So do customize and make the exercises your own. All right, now it's time to get started. I'm going to start by going through the flexion flow routines with you, and I'm going to use a voiceover whilst I demonstrate the exercises. The first one we're going to look at is 4-point kneeling with spinal flexion and a posterior pelvic tilt, which is something we went through in the Pilates for back pain workshop. Begin in a 4-point kneeling position, hands apart and also knees apart. Posteriorly tilt the pelvis, flex the spine and drop the head down. Return back to a neutral spine position and repeat. You should aim to flex your lumbar spine as much as possible during this exercise. From this 4-point kneeling position, you can move into the child's pose stretch. Begin with your spine in the flexed position, then drop your bum back onto your heels, leaving your hands in place and stretching through the length of your spine. Then bring your knees together and try this with your knees together. This will reduce the flexibility in your hips and often require your lower back to flex more. If this is uncomfortable on your hips, then return back to the stretch with the knees apart, which tends to make the exercise easier on your hips and also requires less flexion from your lumbar spine. As you drop into the stretch position, exhale, as breathing out will relax your rib cage and allow you to get a little deeper into the stretch. I'll now walk you through the transition from 4-point kneeling into the squat position. So from the 4-point kneeling position, you need to put your toes up so you can roll back onto the balls of your feet and then onto your heels. Walk your hands back, lift the weight off your knees onto your feet, and then if you can, drop your heels down so your feet are flat. Keep your arms in front of you for counterbalance, and as you'll see, you'll have a good curvature through your spine to allow your body weight to lean forwards and maintain your balance. I'll go through that again, but this time, if you don't have the flexibility to drop onto your heels, you can do the exercise and stay on your toes. That's absolutely fine. Just do the exercise which feels best for you. If you do struggle getting into the squat position, try and have your feet and knees a little further apart, as this can sometimes help you if you've got a lack of flexibility in your hips. In this next part, we'll take the squat flexion reach with flat feet and work on that specific exercise by stretching forward as far as we can. This provides a much more vigorous stretch to the lumbar spine. Again, exhale as you stretch forward as this will relax your rib cage and allow you to stretch further. You can do this same exercise with your heels raised. You'll need to walk your hands forwards in order to maintain your balance, but essentially you're performing the same exercise. This next exercise, the Rise and Shine Squat Flow, is a great exercise and good fun. However, it can be a little challenging when you first try it, so make sure that there's nothing in front of you or behind you, because sometimes you may roll back as you lose balance. And I've certainly done this a few times myself, maybe even when I was warming up for the filming session today. So start from that squat flexion reach position and then extend your spine and stretch your chest by bringing your arms back. And as you do this, you'll need to move forwards onto your forefeet, taking the majority of the weight through the ball of your feet. And this is where balance comes into it, and it can be a little tricky to balance. I find it's easier to balance if you're barefoot and on a firm surface, and harder to balance if you're on a soft surface or wearing soft trainers. So you can then take that exercise and go from a squat right up into a standing position and back down again. This is a brilliant exercise. It's great for first thing in the morning. It's a brilliant office-based exercise if you've been sitting down for too long, and it really does get the blood flowing throughout the whole of your body, and is also a good workout. Once you've done a few of those, you'll start to feel a bit of fatigue in your quads and get a little bit out of breath as well. So that was the flexion flow based routines. Next, we're going to have a look at the rotation flows, starting with the standing spinal rotations. Begin with your feet shoulder width apart or slightly wider, and slightly bend your hips and knees. The aim of this exercise is to keep your hips and pelvis facing forwards and to only rotate through your spine. Repeat a few repetitions to each side. I'll show you here from different angles, but as you can see, it's a simple exercise, but the spine is twisting and the pelvis stays stationary and facing forwards. You can then utilize a stick. Having the stick can give you a bit of extra leverage to help you rotate a little bit further. Here I'm using one of the longer stick mobility sticks, which really does provide some extra leverage and pulls me round into that rotated position more so than if I was doing it with just body weight. Next up, we have one of my favorite exercises, lunge rotations. This is a very convenient exercise because it allows you to do a really good spinal rotation stretch without having to lie on the floor. So from a kneeling position, keep your spine up straight, rotate over your front leg using your front arm as a lever so that you can pull yourself around by pushing your hand against your knee. And the other arm, if you can reach your heel, that will also provide some extra leverage. But if you can't reach your heel, when you reach around, just stretch your arm out and reach as far as you can. I'll switch legs and show you the other way, so the arm goes over the knee for extra leverage, the other hand hooks on the heel if possible, or the arm stretches out and you stretch around as far as you can go. This is a really good stretch. Another tip, of course, is as you're rotating, breathe out as you get to the end of range during the rotation. So you exhale as you twist. This again will relax your rib cage and allow you to stretch a little bit further. Try not to breath hold, which will cause more tension and stop you from stretching as far as you could. You can take this exercise and make it a little bit more dynamic by stepping into the lunge and twisting, returning back to the standing position and repeating again. You may not twist quite as far when you do this, but it is an excellent exercise, and rather like the squat, rise and shine that we looked at previously, this is a great exercise for general fitness as well. For those of you looking for something a little bit more advanced, try this one, the windmill. Start in that lunge position and then just slightly move the knee out to the side just to clear a bit of space so you can stretch forward over your knee. Place the inside hand flat on the floor to stabilize, and then take the other arm and reach up behind you towards the ceiling. To show you that again, move the knee out of the way so you can stretch forward, place the inside arm down for stability and twist around and reach up towards the ceiling. I'll show you that now in the other direction. Stabilize with the arm and twist around up towards the ceiling. This is a great exercise, so don't be afraid to give it a go. So they were the rotation flows. Next, we're going to have a look at an extension flow. Now these are really easy to do, but as I said at the beginning, see how you get on with them. If they help, keep doing them and do more of them. If they don't help or aggravate your back, then perhaps omit them from your program. Starting with a basic extension just simply involves raising up onto the elbows and resting in that position. If that feels okay, try to progress by pushing up further by doing a press up whilst leaving your pelvis on the mat. Repeat that a few times, holding it in the end position for a few moments and then returning back to neutral. From that point, you can progress back up to 4-point kneeling again, and then sit down on your heels so you're in a kneeling position. Then from the kneeling position, you can do some standard spinal extension, bringing your arms into it for extra leverage, and then raising your arms up above your head again for extra leverage. Then progress into a standing position, starting with some normal spinal extension. Again, bringing your arms up to increase the leverage. And then if you place one foot in front of the other into that lunge position, you'll be able to achieve a much more vigorous spinal extension stretch. And that completes the Flexion Flow routine. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, now it's your turn to give it a go.